One of the least known Skywalkers in all of the lore goes by the name of Nat Skywalker of the Legacy era. Nat is an interesting character, as I stated recently that Cole Skywalker was the most like Qui-Gon Jinn, with Cole being Nat's brother, and Nat being the uncle to the main character in the Legacy series, Cade Skywalker, the son of Cole. Nat and Cade actually have a lot in common, mainly their disagreements with the Jedi Order, and their disillusionment with them. Nat Skywalker holds a lot in common with Jedi like Qui-Gon Jinn, and even more so Jedi Dooku. Nat Skywalker's story is what it would look like if Dooku actually led a righteous path with more simple means. He's very similar to those characters in Qui-Gon and Dooku in that way. And today, we'll be discovering one of the most underrated and least known Skywalkers, Nat. Born under the weight of one of the galaxy's most legendary lineages, Nat Skywalker entered a world shaped by the legacy of his ancestors. As a descendant of Luke Skywalker, Nat was a part of the family forever intertwined with the Force. Yet from a young age, Nat's relationship with his heritage was complex, shaped by his natural talent, a questioning mind, and a desire for freedom that often clashed with the rigid structures of the Jedi Order. Nat was the eldest son of the Skywalker line, directly descending from Luke. Growing up in an era where the Jedi Order, though rebuilt and now flourishing, still bore the scars of past wars. His early years were spent training at the Jedi Temple, learning the ways of the Force and honing his skills under the watchful eyes of Jedi Masters, who recognized Nat's great potential. As a young Padawan, Nat demonstrated remarkable aptitude with a lightsaber, and a deep, profound connection to the Force that was rare even for his bloodline, although this didn't directly translate to power, as Nat Skywalker was actually one of the weaker Skywalkers in all of Star Wars lore, in terms of his Force potential, but his connection to the Force was one of the most profound of any Skywalker. His independent nature set him apart from the rest of his peers. While other Jedi embraced the Order's teachings with quiet acceptance, Nat openly questioned them. He challenged the dogma that emotions and attachments were dangerous, something that Luke Skywalker tried to remedy, but that Nat felt like the Order was deeping back into. Nat felt that instead of suppressing such bonds, that made the Jedi Order blind to the true nature of life. This rebellious streak oftentimes earned him the disapproval from his instructors, but also the admiration of them. His Jedi Masters described him as unconventional, but also creative. Everything would change though, with the birth of Cole Skywalker. The birth of Nat's younger brother Cole marked a turning point in his life. Cole was everything the Jedi Order could have possibly hoped for. He was dedicated, disciplined, deeply committed to the Jedi Code. And he was far more naturally powerful than Nat was. While Nat questioned the nature of things, and this put him at odds with the Order, Cole Skywalker embraced it wholeheartedly. Their relationship was one of contrast, but it was also one with deep love and great respect. Nat took on the role of protector and a mentor to Cole during his childhood, knowing that Cole one day would likely be the leader of the Jedi Order. Despite their differing temperaments, the brothers shared a bond forged in the crucible of their family's legacy. Cole admired Nat's strength and his independence, while Nat often found himself inspired by Cole's unwavering faith in the Jedi ideals. However, as they grew older, their differences became more pronounced and profound, and the two would grow apart. Cole Skywalker saw the Jedi as a noble, pure force for good, but Nat began to see the cracks in the Order's philosophy. The Skywalker family name, he himself realized, was as much a burden as it was an honor to hold. The expectations placed upon him to live up to Luke Skywalker's example weighed heavily on Nat. He resented the pressure to conform to a single path, feeling that the Jedi Code left little room for individuality or even, most importantly, personal happiness. As a Jedi Knight, Nat's relationship with the Order became more and more strained. He excelled in missions and earned a reputation as a skilled negotiator and a great lightsaber duelist. However, his tendency to act on instinct rather than following Jedi protocol brought him into conflict with other Jedi Masters and Knights. He began to view the Jedi as overly rigid, adherence to the Jedi Code leading them to miss opportunities of meaningful connections and solutions. Nat harbored doubts that the Jedi's role in the galaxy was changing. He questioned their involvement in politics and their insistence of avoiding attachment, seeing this as deeply flawed and attempting to control emotions rather than understanding them. He believed that love, loyalty, personal bonds were sources of strength, not weakness. For a time, these views were tolerated because of his name, but as time progressed, Nat Skywalker's divergence from the philosophy of the Jedi became too great to ignore, even for Cole. Cole was a rising star in the Jedi, tried to bring Nat back into the fold. He argued with his older brother that the Jedi needed people like him, those who challenged tradition, wanted to evolve the Jedi Order for the better, But Nat, seeing Cole's increasing commitment to the Jedi way, became deeply worried for his younger brother. He believed that Cole was losing sight of personal joys and freedom that he sought to protect. This discussion was often very heated between the two brothers, filled with great frustration as they tried to reconcile their differing beliefs, the last of the Skywalker lineage. But everything would come to a boiling point on a single mission. Nat witnessed the consequences of the Jedi's rigid stance on non-attachment. He witnessed a fellow Jedi torn between duty and the bond of a loved one, and he made a choice that led to great tragedy. For Nat, this was proof that suppressing emotions only led to greater pain. The mission's failure solidified his belief that the Jedi's methods were deeply flawed, and their inability to embrace the full spectrum of human experience made them vulnerable and maybe even dangerous. Disillusioned, Nat made the decision to officially leave the Jedi Order. He turned away from the halls of the temple, the lightsaber duels, and the council chambers, and from the legacy of the Skywalker name. He chose to instead to live on his own, by his own terms, far from the expectations that had defined his early years as a Jedi. Cole, though, was devastated by his brother's decision and departure. He saw it as a loss not just for the Jedi, but for the galaxy. Cole believed that they needed a voice like Nat's to challenge stagnation, to inspire growth. Yet he also respected his older brother's decision, understanding that Nat's path, though different, was no less meaningful. Nat, now taking on the name Bantha Rock, disappeared into the Outer Rim, where he would build a new life as a mechanic and a family man, everything that Anakin once wanted. While he left the Jedi behind, he never abandoned the Force or the values that he held dear. In his solitude, Nat found the peace and freedom that he had desired for so long, even as the galaxy was continued to be shaped by the struggles of war and the Sith, the Jedi. But destiny has a way of calling back those who try to escape. For Nat, his early life as a Jedi and his bond with his brother Cole would always remain, shaping the choices that he made as he tried to balance the weight of his heritage and the Skywalker name with the life that he desired. The later years of Nat. Bantha Rock embraced life far removed from the Jedi. The Outer Rim he settled with his wife by the name of Drew and her children. He created a loving family unit that gave a sense of fulfillment that the Jedi could never provide. He lived on a remote world that offered a quiet reprieve from the endless conflicts that plagued the galaxy. Here, Nat traded the weight of the galactic responsibility for the satisfaction of building, repairing, and nurturing. As a mechanic, Nat thrived in a new life. He became a master of engineering, crafting starships and weaponry with the precision and integrity that mirrored that of a master of the Force. His ingenuity was unparalleled. Yet, even as he built a new identity, the shadow of the Skywalker name always lingered. He stayed hidden from the larger conflicts of the galaxy, but remained acutely aware of the ongoing Sith Imperial War and the rise of Darth Krayt. Nat's peaceful existence was interrupted when his nephew, Cade, entered his life. Cade was a man deeply scarred by the loss of his father Cole, believing that it had been a failure of the Jedi Order. He was burdened too by the weight of the Skywalker lineage. After Cole's death in the Sith attack, Cade fled the Jedi Temple, descending into a life of piracy, bounty hunting, and drugs. His rejection of his identity mirrored that of Nat's own, though Cade's path was far darker. When Cade reconnected with his uncle Nat, the older man saw himself in his nephew, the same defiance, the resentment of Jedi expectations, but amplified by the trauma of loss and guilt. Nat became a guiding figure for Cade, not as a Jedi Master, but as a family member who understood the struggle of finding one's place in the galaxy. Nat encouraged Cade to confront his pain, make peace with his past. He emphasized that the Force was not a burden, but that it was a gift to be wielded with purpose and balance. Love. While he respected Cade's desire to forge his own path, Nat often pushed back against Cade's reckless and self-destructive nature, urging the boy to see the larger picture and the responsibility that came with that great power. In their time together, Nat offered Cade both tough love and practical support. He helped repair Cade's ship, the Minok, and gave Cade and his crew refuge from the Sith. Nat also reconnected Cade with his mother, Morrigan Cord, rekindling bonds that Cade had long sought to sever. Their relationship was not without tension though. Cade viewed Nat as a reminder of his father and the Jedi legacy that he had attempted to escape. But through Nat's love and understanding of his nephew, Cade did begin to see the strength in his uncle's decision to leave the Jedi. Although Nat had distanced himself from the Jedi and the war, he could not ignore the threat posed by Krayt. And when his family was threatened, Nat again rejoined the fight. Nat's combat skills, they were rarely used, but they remained sharp and deadly. He wielded his lightsaber only when absolutely necessary, preferring to rely on his wits and his mechanical expertise to solve problems. However, when Nat did fight, he proved that age had not diminished his power. Nat Skywalker was a primary user of Form 3 Sarisu, the way of the Minok. The defensive form reflected his philosophy of protection and patience. He appreciated the efficiency of Sarisu's focus, conserving energy, waiting for the right moment to strike when suited. This fit him perfectly. He was a formidable opponent. He could outlast most attackers while remaining calm, calculated under pressure. Additionally, he showed proficiency in Form 5 Gem So, allowing him to transition to offense when necessary, particularly when his loved ones were threatened. Though not as flashy or aggressive as some other Jedi, and especially Skywalkers, Nat was a highly skilled and a versatile fighter. His strength was in his strategic mind and his practical use of the Force. He excelled in combining Force techniques with technical expertise, using his environment and his surroundings to his advantage. His Force abilities were also focused on utility rather than sheer overwhelming power. He was adept at telekinesis, shielding, and precognition. I want to make something clear. Nat Skywalker was not exceptionally strong in the Force, especially compared to his bloodline, but that is because he chose not to be. The Force was simply an aspect of his life. It was not his life. In his latter years, though, Nat became a symbol of balance, practicality within the Skywalker lineage. He walked a path not defined by the extremes of a Jedi or Sith, but by the choices of an individual that sought harmony in a chaotic galaxy. Through his mentorship of Cade, he played a critical role in guiding the next generation of Skywalkers, showing that even those who step away from the spotlight can have a profound impact on the galaxy. He was known for his calm wisdom, unwavering commitment to his family, and ensuring that Nat Skywalker's legacy would endure not as a warrior, but as a man who chose to live a life on his own terms. The last significant events involving Nat Skywalker, or Bantha Rock, occur as he continues to support Cade during his fight with the One Sith and Crate. Nat remains a steady, a protective presence for his family and allies, but by the end of the series, his role is diminished more as focus shifts more heavily onto Cade in his confrontation of Crate. Still though, Nat provides critical resources and advice that do contribute to Cade ultimately beating Crate. By the end of the series, Nat chooses to not rejoin the Jedi Order or participate in large-scale battle. Instead, he returns to his family, reaffirming his decision to live a quieter life. His actions showed that even in a galaxy consumed by war, the choice to prioritize love, family, and peace is a powerful statement. The last we know of Nat is he lives out his life as Bantha Rock, a husband, a father, and occasional mentor. His actions during the events of Star Wars Legacy leave the galaxy with a sense of hope, not through grand gestures of power, but through quiet strength of someone who chose a life of balance and authenticity. Nat's story is one of self-discovery, resilience, a counterpoint to the often tragic arcs of other Skywalkers from this lineage. Nat's life was one of personal freedom, love, and the belief that in a galaxy of chaos, one can find peace by staying true to themselves. But anyway, my friends, and fellow students, and architects of the Force, what are your thoughts on Nat Skywalker? One of the most underrated, and honestly, least well-known Skywalkers in the entirety of the lore. For you, where does Nat rank in terms of your favorite Skywalkers? And as always, hit that subscribe button for more daily Star Wars lore, and may the Force be with you.